turn that off. Okay, we are live. Welcome to the live cast. I figured I would do this so we could kind of have a conclusion to the missing Titanic sub that I've been covering this week. This time I'm going to get my phone going. If I have comments, I'll be able to read them right on the phone as I'm doing this. And this is also, it looks like it's working. I don't have my headphones set up. I'm using my better microphone here. Just curious if that really makes that big of a difference. Okay, now, it's coming. It's right up on my phone there. And the question is, can I see the comments when I'm doing it on the phone? Because that was the whole point. Instead of having to look at the computer. And while I'm doing this, I'm waiting. See if some people join us. I haven't advertised this as an upcoming stream. I'm kind of doing this on the fly. As you saw, I was doing some work this afternoon on my boat, and I've been working hardcore on that. It's been tedious doing all that paint work, scraping the paint. I can taste the salt in my mouth that was hiding underneath that paint. Let's see if I can see this here. Home live. Okay, this one is live. I'm wondering if I can even get the comments in here. I could hear them. I better turn this volume down or there's going to be an echo. Let's see. Okay, here's the chat. It looks like the live chat will come up on the phone. That's what I wanted it to do. This setup here. Okay, that part works. That is good. I like that. So I'm knocking over all my pictures here. Okay. Yeah, this is a pretty good setup now, if this works. I don't know how close the mic has to be. I got one of those booms ordered, so to speak, so you can adjust exactly where you're putting the mic. But it's probably the closer the better. Okay, so this Titan submarine used for tourism down to the Titanic. We've been talking about this week, and one of the people, I believe it was in a live stream that I did, commented either that or it might have been the first video I did, which I didn't do it in live stream format. They commented that an implosion was picked up by a listening sonar microphone. So they were right on the money with that one. And, well, it sounds like it. We don't know for sure what, when this thing actually imploded. If they could time, this is something I haven't heard the media talk about today. Is there a way that they could get the exact time of when the Navy heard that explosion or implosion, I should say? They must have a recording or record of the exact time that happened. Now, if they compared that time to the exact time that they lost the pinging from this Titan sub as it went down, the hour and 45 minutes into the voyage, the pinging stopped. Um, that should match up with the time that the Navy detected an implosion on there. Apparently, they have an array of underwater microphones for security reasons, and this is technology that dates back to the 1950s. That's what I've heard today. So if what they heard was actually this sub imploding, because the Navy is speculating, they can't prove that, they don't have definitive proof that that noise he picked up was the implosion. But if they could match up the times, and the two times are synchronized when that noise happened and when the ping was lost from the sub, I would say that would give you a pretty good confirmation that when this thing imploded, it happened in a fast, almost instantaneous manner, I should say. It's been a long day here. But I mean, this thing, it's been a bad week with this going on. I mean, it's just, either way, it's bad. I mean, the people were down there in this hull, and there was no getting out of it, apparently, for them. There was no easy way to get out of that thing. And people are saying now, if you do these kind of tourism expeditions down in the ocean that deep, it should be possibly required that you have what's called an ROV. That's a robotically operated vehicle, an unmanned sub that can get down to those depths and at least get a video feed as to what's going on down there. And so this is one of the things they're talking about now. They're like, make it a requirement. The research vessel or the support vessel, you have to have an ROV on board that can go as deep as the manned sub that you're sending down there. This company was doing this without anything like that. They didn't have an ROV. The sub wasn't tethered, so there was no communication cable going to it. The radio waves couldn't travel underwater. There were a lot of things that were kind of like a cost cutter, things that they should have probably done for greater safety. Now, the speculation is today that the hull, they found the debris field close to Titanic, and the debris happens to be pieces of the sub. I heard that they found the end cap, so to speak, of the pressure vessel. They apparently were made with titanium. And these are the two rounded caps on either side of the tube. They said that at least one of those they came across in the debris field. That's what I've heard. So if the end cap was intact and it wasn't attached to the middle of the hull, the tube, that kind of, based on, if you think about how it's constructed, it kind of backs up the theory that the tube is where the failure would have been. Now, there was that little porthole at the end of one of those end caps. The porthole, being that it's made out of a plexiglass type of material, very thick plastic, and then it's mated onto a titanium end cap, there is a possibility that that could have failed and leaked in water into the vessel. However, if something like that happened, you probably would have, if the titanium held together, you probably would have just had the vessel intact but flooded with water down there. Being that the middle of this thing seems to be missing, this is kind of alluding to the design made of carbon fiber for this tubular structure in the middle of the sub. The carbon fiber, in my understanding, they said it was spun filament that went around. So they take, it's supposed to be really strong stuff, the carbon fiber. They take a filament of carbon, and I guess they had it going around the entire tubular structure, and they use a resin to cement it all together, kind of like a massive, if you see like a spool of twine, how they like kind of weave it around, and then when you want to use the twine, you pull it and it unravels. I'm thinking it's kind of like that. And as they're winding the twine or the carbon fiber, they're putting like resin. They keep painting on resin over it, like fiberglass, but without using the glass mat or glass fiber. You use this string carbon fiber instead. The problem is the carbon fiber. I don't know if anyone's had experience with it, but in the automotive world, they've been using a lot of things they like to make out of carbon fiber, aftermarket modification stuff. It's very lightweight. Yeah, it's supposed to be very strong. And I noticed I've had a little bit of experience with a few pieces of it, some accessories that may have been of questionable quality. I mean, I'm sure they weren't made to the standards that the carbon fiber in a sub would be made. But I noticed the stuff, it is very rigid. If you try to bend it, it doesn't really bend. Like if you take something made out of fiberglass, you can kind of bend it and it springs back. Like the fiberglass has much more springiness to it. The carbon fiber is much more rigid. And I guess that's why they wanted to use this carbon fiber for the hull, because they wanted it to be very strong and stay, not bend in like fiberglass would. And it also is much lighter. However, I've seen carbon fiber stuff for cars, automotive, where if you make a mistake and this stuff, some of it's very thin, and you're trying to like place it or get it back into a certain spot, if you bend that, like I said, it's very rigid, but if you press on it too hard, what happens is the carbon fiber just gives way, it cracks. So it kind of alludes to something like that happening with the hull of this sub, the tube. I was saying in the live stream last night, or the end of the night before, I saw a video and they said in order for this thing to withstand the immense pressure, the shape of it has to remain perfectly circular. That distributes the pressure evenly on the structure of the sub. If part of that circular hull deflects inward just a little bit, what happens is a lot more pressure starts building up on that one area that deflected, and it compromises the strength of the hull if you have one little area deflect. So it's kind of like a chain reaction. And the other bad thing about carbon fiber, if you get a little crack in it or a leak, the pressure, I was saying it's like a pressure washer. That's how much, when you're down there that deep, that's how much pressure of water you have on the hull. If you get some kind of a little leak, it's going to shoot in like a pressure washer nozzle. And that is going to, the nature of carbon fiber, it's not metal. It's going to start eroding the fiber, and the whole thing is going to start giving way. It's just going to like erode it away, and the hole will just get bigger and bigger until probably the whole thing cracks and the middle of the sub fills with water. That's the problem. That's the whole problem with it. The other factor is when they did other dives down to Titanic, like Dr. Ballard did, research scientists and whatnot, they used what's called, the shape of the submarine was called like a bell, and it was perfectly, the thing was perfectly round, like a circular hull. That can take a lot more pressure. It's a lot better shape. And the only problem was, I heard the research subs that Dr. Ballard used only held 3 people. You had a pilot and 2 scientists at the most. This Titan sub held 5 people, and the whole reason is why they used that tube design was to get more people in the sub. It wasn't probably a good idea. Well, being an armchair quarterback now, it's easy to say that, but the design of the hull shape being a tube, that wasn't a good idea to begin with. It should have been a circular bulb, perfectly circular. And the carbon fiber was also an experimental, pretty much, way of doing this. It hadn't been used before, from what I've heard today. When it exactly imploded is another question. They haven't really definitively said anything today on the news. Like I said, if it lined up with that pinging stop at 1 hour 45 minutes into the journey, that when the Navy heard that implosion, that would give us a really good, somewhat of a confirmation. But there's another possibility I was wondering about. If something malfunctioned on the sub and it continued down past the hour 45 minutes, they said originally it would take about 3 hours to get down to Titanic. If they got down there and the sub was stuck down there for a while, and maybe being underwater a longer time caused it to implode, I'm wondering about that, because when they say they found the debris field, and, well, we don't have visual on it yet. Maybe we'll see some visual in the next coming days if they film it down there and release what it actually looked like. But if this thing happened an hour and 45 minutes into the descent, I am wondering, it takes 3 hours to get down there. You're still far above the Titanic. If the thing imploded, I would imagine the pieces of it would drift apart. And they kept saying there's a lot of ocean current down there. So the currents would move the different pieces depending upon how much they weighed and how fast they dropped. Like pieces of metal would drop probably pretty fast through the water if they didn't have much resistance, like tubing. And it would land on the bottom. But if it happened way up high, I would think it would be spread out quite a ways. If it's all in one spot, I'm wondering if it didn't happen closer to the bottom of the sea. And why it happened, we don't have video of it. We're speculating on which part actually caused this to go bad. We'll have to see what they come up with in the next 24 hours or so, 48 hours, if we can get any video footage. But yeah, let's see. I'm checking here to see if we have any messages going. I don't know if I have this set up right. Live chat has moved. Okay, it is possible. I mean, I'm doing this at a ridiculous hour of the morning. It's coming up on almost 2 a.m. So I'll do this again when we have some more information. But I just wanted to wrap that up. I had watched the news earlier this evening. I didn't have time until now to actually do a video or a live chat. And this is basically what I've been paying attention to it throughout the day. But this is basically where they're at. They're saying the carbon fiber design of the sub is the culprit. That's what speculation is at the moment. But I'll do another one of these live chats. I'll inform all the subscribers when. I'll give them plenty of notice when I'm going to do it. And we can do another discussion on this. This one I didn't even give an advance notice. If you didn't get one, that's why. I did this like last minute. I've been doing too many things today. And I also wanted to check out this mic and see if it worked. So I'm going to wrap this thing up. It looks like, yeah, I think I have it set up where the chat's enabled. It's just it's very late. All right, guys. Have a good morning, most likely. It is. It's already morning. And I'll keep you guys posted when we do the next live chat. All right, over and out.